tell me the matchup that matters. What are you looking forward to in this game, and how do you think that it's going to play out?
Yeah, it's got to be Breece Hall, right? Versus Pat's front seven. The Patriots defense, while I do think it's an underrated unit, and they've got some dudes on that unit, and they're very well coached under Gerard Mayo. Yeah. They are 25th ranked EPA per play versus the run through the first 2 weeks of the season. So that is kind of where you can gash them, is on the ground. Hall is top 10 in yards after contact. We know he's a bowling ball. So there's the initial stop, but then there's also the wrap up that needs to happen with Breece Hall. And I really think that is going to be something that the Jets lean heavily on, as Aaron Rodgers still gets used to his receivers. And then more importantly, they get used to him because of all of the different things that come with playing with Aaron Rodgers.
Right. And I mean, it's a lot of responsibility, right? I mean, we saw the memes from last week. I think it was last week. Maybe it was from week 1, where the camera just pans so hard onto Rodgers' face after he throws the pick. And the meme caption was just like, why is bro looking at me like I threw the pick? And that's kind of like how it is when you play with Aaron Rodgers. So there's a lot of responsibility that you have as a wide receiver to sort of be exactly where you need to be reliable in all those areas. And so I actually think that it was pretty great by Rodgers to play. I suppose the way to say it is patiently, the way that he did last week. I mean, it was they didn't make that win look easy against the Titans. And I wonder how many quarterbacks around the NFL, even the great ones, would have had the patience to just say, hey, we're doing the right things. The Titans probably going to give us an opportunity to win this game at the end of the game. We just can't screw it up for ourselves. And Aaron Rodgers didn't stuff the stat sheet, but he was very patient in what he was able to do. So I'm actually going to flip to the opposite side, but talk about the exact same thing. I'm going to talk about the Jets run defense versus the Patriots run game, because we think about this Jets defensive line, and going into the season, we just went, oh yeah, going to be one of the best defensive lines in the NFL again. And it's still a really talented defensive line, but they're not playing up to the level that they have in the past. When you look at the Jets specifically in run defense, 46.0 run defense grade in these last 2 weeks. That's 28th in the NFL, and they're 25th in EPA allowed per rush. So that is an area where you can really attack this team. And thankfully for the Patriots, it's something that they do very, very well. 77.9 rushing grade for the Patriots, which is 7th best in the league through 2 weeks, and 8th in EPA per run. Exactly, right. And I think this offensive line is playing better than I thought that they were going to, certainly with some of those young guys as well. So it's one of these games where I think the Jets really need sort of a gut check here for their defensive line, because it looked tough for them to defend the run the way that they wanted to over the last 2 weeks, last week specifically, though. And so that's going to be a major telling point of who ends up winning this game, I think, of what happens in the trenches there.
Agreed.
Who you guys?
And actually, that rolls right into my plus factor, which is Will McDonald, because Jermaine Johnson is out. So not only are you going to have to get better along this Jets defensive line, they're going to have to be more productive. They're going to have to do it without one of their best players. So how can Will McDonald step up? He has already the third most pressures on the team with 5. Jermaine Johnson led the team before he got injured. So now it's time to move to first, big guy. It's time to really step up and make sure you're filling that gap that Jermaine Johnson is inevitably going to leave.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. They drafted Will McDonald in the first round basically for this reason. You know, you draft him in round 1 when the D line was already solidified. It was already a deep unit, and they kind of just said like, hey, we want, as Ollie Conley said it on the Trenches show from Tuesday, he's like, the Jets want this hockey rotation. They want to be able to bring in guys very quickly, keep them fresh, and basically just have them penetrating up the line of scrimmage at all times. And it's getting more difficult for them to do that this year, specifically because of the injuries, specifically because you don't have Bryce Huff, you don't have Hassan Reddick to replace him. So this is a big Will McDonald game. I agree. That's definitely a plus factor in this one. Mine is a little bit more of an obvious with the plus factor, but Garrett Wilson, it has to be. You know, you sort of joked about it at the very top, you know, Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers connection. It's been very heavy, like how the passing game has revolved around Garrett Wilson, but he has been able to deliver, especially when they have needed it most. On 3rd and 4th down specifically, Garrett Wilson has a 91.6 receiving grade. He's got 6 targets, 5 catches, all 5 gaining a first down, 70 yards in 3rd and 4th down situations. And so it might not look pretty in the early downs with the passing game right now as Rodgers is kind of trying to figure it out with the rest of his group. But for Wilson specifically, when Rodgers goes, okay, we need a first down, ball's going to Garrett Wilson. Doesn't matter. He's putting it exactly where it needs to go, and Wilson is delivering. So he is, but I don't know. I don't know who else steps up for them in this wide receiver room. I thought it was going to be Allen Lazard. I thought he was going to be better. I know it hasn't been as good as he was in Green Bay, but man, it just still does not look as good as it can there. It really just feels like it's going to be a run the ball and Garrett Wilson show for the New York Jets.
I do wonder if it's more that Aaron Rodgers is trying to force the ball to Allen Lazard because that is supposed to be kind of his safety net given the rapport he has from Green Bay, or if it's that no one else is stepping up. I'm not totally sure as to that kind of dynamic. And I think that that's only going to come to light, like as Rodgers does get more used to the receiving weapons he has and just the pass game in general in New York, because he really, this is the first iteration of it that we're seeing. Like Rodgers only had 4 snaps last season. He didn't play in preseason this year, at least in the games. So I think that is it just that these guys haven't come to light yet because he's forcing the ball to the familiar target? Or is it because they really don't have anybody else? And I don't know the answer to that question, but I think we're going to end up finding out pretty soon. We're going to have to, because it can't just be Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall as it's been.
Yeah, I think obviously Jets sitting here at 1-1. If they want to get to where they want to go, it's got to look a little easier than this. Even Breece Hall's rushing production. I mean, it just looks like it's tougher for them right now. And so I think that the Patriots are turning into a better barometer type of game for that than maybe we believed at the beginning of the season. There's plenty of people, myself included, who were, thinking that the Patriots could have been pushovers all season. Not that I didn't think that Gerard Mayo wasn't going to have these guys playing as best they could, but it was tough. You look on paper versus the Jets, what they're supposed to be. So if they can play well against the Jets, if the Jets can play well against the Patriots, especially on the well, actually, no, this one's at home for the Jets. So I'm still going to say it. If they can play well against the Patriots, it will be a good statement game for them moving forward.